All right, Dan again here. In this video, we're going to talk about how many smoke eaters it's going to take to really solve the problem in your business. And the analogy I like to use is that if you've got a big 3,000 square foot space and you're in Florida and it's the summertime, you're not going to try to cool that place off with a single window air conditioner, right? It's just not going to work. In that case, you've really got no right to complain that it's hot in the summertime. Smoke removal is very similar. I mean, you really are talking about processing the air in the entire space. So when it comes to how many, like I said in the last video, you want to get the biggest machine you can, given the size of the space and the ceiling height available to you. And then from there, it simply becomes a matter of math. Now, smoke removal is all about how many times per hour you can filter the air in the business. So at a minimum, you want to filter out the air 8 times an hour, and that's a minimum. Depending upon your smoke levels, you may need to go with 10, 12, or even up to 15 an hour to keep up with the smoke levels in your business. Now, the lower the ceiling height, obviously the more the smoke is going to be down around the people's faces. You want to clean the air a little bit quicker. And obviously the worse the smoke levels, the faster you want to clean out the smoke. So at 8 air filtrations an hour, that pretty much means it's going to take 7.5 minutes to filter the air once. Okay? And that's ideal for like a moderate smoke level. Now, 10 times an hour means you're filtering the air roughly every 6 minutes or so. That's for moderate to, I'll say bad levels. 12 times an hour is for very bad smoke levels, and 15 is for the worst. And when I say the worst, if you're like a cigar shop and you run tasting events where you've got 40, 50 guys in there smoking cigars, I'm sorry, you need to be in the 12 to 15 range. If you're down at 8 filtrations per hour, you're just not going to be happy with the results. And the reason for that is because people are creating smoke faster than you can pull it out of the air. So when it comes to how many of them, it's simply a matter of calculating a couple of things. What is the length and width of your room? Gives you the square footage times the ceiling height. Gives you the total gross, cubic feet, excuse me. All right, cubic feet is what we need to really figure out how many units you need. Length, width gives you the square footage times the ceiling height is the cubic footage. So in a 1,000 square foot space with a 10 foot high ceiling, you've got 10,000 cubic feet of air. And then we just work backwards to figure out, based on the target number of air filtrations per hour, how many CFM we need. And then based on that, we look at the model that is most suitable for you. And then we really end up with the number of machines we need to accommodate the CFM necessary to process your size space. Now, if that all sounds complicated, the good news is we can do all those calculations for you. There is a section on our website that says request a quote, and just fill out your details. So gather the length and width of your space, your ceiling height, and oh, by the way, if you've got a drop ceiling, you're going to need to measure the amount of clearance you've got above the drop ceiling. Because if you want to go with the flush mount unit, you've got to make sure you've got at least 13 to 18 inches of clearance, ideally more than 18 to allow for the biggest machine. But it really comes down to airflow. And without enough airflow, it's still going to be smoky. I have so many customers say, yeah, I know you told me I need 2 machines. I'm just going to try one and see how it goes. The biggest problem with that approach is that, again, it's like that July in the summer down in Florida. You're not going to be happy with the result. And now some people say, I'm going to try one, see how it goes, and then I'll come back and get the second one if I'm happy with the results. And that's just setting yourself up for failure right up front. Because your first impression is going to be a bad one. It's not going to work the way you had hoped. So it really makes the most sense to target a number of air filtrations per hour and get this job done correctly. You would never tell your heating and air conditioning guy that, yeah, I know you told me I need 10 tons of air conditioning, but I'm just going to try 5 and see how it goes. It's just not going to work. The air conditioning guy is not going to be willing to even sell you a system because he knows it's not going to cool your place effectively. Same thing holds true here. get the right number of machines, make the investment up front. I know budgets are tight, and I know you may only be able to do certain things, but if you can figure out a way to make it happen all at once, you're going to solve the problem and be happy with it, as opposed to buying one, having everybody criticize that this thing doesn't work so well, when in fact you just never got enough power to begin with. So request a quote. I'll put together a recommendation for you. In cases where it's on the border between 1, 2, or 3, or 4 machines, I'll let you know. Here's your minimum recommendation, and here's the ideal way to go. You can make your own decisions. But request that quote, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.